Recording now.
So, what do you want me to say?
Anything or any school memory that you have?
Yes, I started primary school in Otago. Can't remember what year that was. It must have been about 1950 something. It was a brand new school called Newfield. There seemed to be a lot of kids in the class. I think in those days we must have had 40 or so in the classes, which was sort of good and bad, but it didn't matter in the end because what we learned was very little, and probably we learned to get on with each other more than anything. Yeah, probably the better school after that was the intermediate school, which they don't have anymore, and that was only 2 years, but it was a co-ed school before you went to high school. You went from primary to the intermediate, which must have been from age about 12 to 14, I think, and then we went on to our various high schools, and that was probably the last time I enjoyed school was intermediate. Going on to high school was perhaps a disappointment, but perhaps one of the most enduring memories I have of my education is the time spent in prefabricated buildings, heated by pot-belly stoves in the corner, and being cold or too hot, and having to dash in the rain in between the buildings. A lot of temporary teachers, most of whom had no idea what they were doing, but if they could keep control of the class, that was the main thing. And in those days there was what they called corporal punishment, which was another word for violence, and if anybody did anything wrong they got the strap, which was a piece of leather about that long, about that wide and about that thick, like that. And when you went to high school they varied that with the cane, which was like a whippy walking stick. So you tended not to do too much wrong. In fact, I think kids were pretty good in those days. They didn't do much wrong. They didn't get into the sort of scrapes that they seem to have nowadays. Or if they did, you never heard about it. They just disappeared. Yes, we had a lot of teachers who were perhaps returned servicemen from World War II who had been injured, either physically or, I now realise, perhaps mentally. They usually had particular bones to pick about various subjects, and some of them were quite odd, I think, now. But yeah, it was all part of education. It was learning to deal with strange people. And I don't know whether school was actually a good introduction to real life. I don't think it was. Yeah, on reflection, I think it would have been better for most of us if we'd left school a lot younger and gone out and begged in the streets or something, rather than pretend that we were learning something when we didn't. And you just got on with it, as our forefathers had. But there we are. It's all part of education.
Thank you.